Most Americans are further left than they think they are. It's not opinion, it's math. On the things that actually shape our lives, wages, healthcare, education, corporate power, the so called middle agrees with the left more than the right by a landslide. You'd never know it from watching the news or listening to Congress because the people who set the political stage have spent decades convincing voters that the middle lives somewhere between a hedge fund's quarterly report and a culture war sermon. The middle they sell you is a scam. It's a mirage on the horizon painted in red, white, and blue by the same hands that closed your factories, raised your rent, and told you to blame your neighbor. And for decades, the right wing, call it conservative, Republican, or MAGA, has stopped even pretending to legislate for the public. They legislate for donors, for think tank cronies, for talk radio outrage addicts. They take the values people actually live by, like hard work and fairness and community, and they gut them. They leave the skin intact so they can stuff it full of tax cuts for billionaires and subsidies for corporations. Then they hold it up like a parade banner and tell you it's freedom. And the Democratic Party shouldn't get too comfortable. They've got their own rot. They run on promises they never deliver. They slow walk reforms into oblivion. They keep one hand on the working class and the other in the pocket of the same corporate donors as the Republicans. They'll tell you they're the firewall against extremism while quietly letting the same old corporate agenda slip through the cracks. And meanwhile, the economy is splitting open beneath the polish of a press release. And they brag about GDP growth while wages barely move. They talk about low unemployment numbers while housing prices crush families and rent swallow paychecks whole. And Trump's answer to bad numbers is to fire the people who give them to him. Not to fix the problem, not to change the policy. Just break the thermometer and tell you the fever's gone. And the punchline is this: those radical ideas they tell you to fear, Medicaid for all, living wages, universal child care, fair taxes on the rich, public housing that isn't a warehouse for poverty, a climate plan that might actually save your grandchildren. These aren't fringe dreams. They're where the majority already lives. And the shift toward democratic socialism isn't about importing some dusty foreign ideology. It's about finally admitting that basic fairness is not radical, that the wealth of this country should serve the people who create it. The only reason those ideas sound dangerous is because for decades they've poisoned the label. Socialism is a ghost story. They whisper it in your ear so you never stop to ask why your health care costs more than your mortgage, or why your boss pays a lower tax rate than you do. You see, the fear lives in the word, not in the policy. And if independents and moderates actually voted their values instead of their fears, the left would bury the right 3-1 because their values, fairness, dignity, accountability, and opportunity, are already leftist. They want a government that serves them, not hides from them. They want their taxes to buy schools and roads and doctors and safety, not bailouts and billion-dollar contracts for people who already own the whole goddamn board. And the false middle is their favorite stage. And they drag out a handful of bipartisan bills, strip them down until they do nothing but move air, and hold them up as proof that Washington can still work together. It's theater. It's a carefully choreographed drift back toward a centrist mirage where nothing truly changes. And they call it compromise, but it's just a handshake between check writers while the rest of us clap for a show that was never meant to solve anything. The fight isn't between left and right. It's between the people and the machine that's been grinding them down for decades. The middle they talk about isn't a real place. It's a holding pen bent out of fear and false choices. And once you strip away that propaganda and the polling and the donor bought talking points, you start to see the truth. And here it is. You've been standing in the real middle your whole life. You've been told to fear your own instincts. You've been told to settle for scraps while the table groans under the weight of someone else's feast. And they tell you what you want is too radical. It's too expensive. It's too impossible. But the only thing that's too expensive is letting the system keep bleeding you dry. The middle is not theirs to define. It belongs to the people who work and who build and who teach, who grow, who heal, who keep this country alive in spite of its leadership. And when that middle stops apologizing for wanting what it has already earned, when it spits out the fear and starts speaking in the language of reality, then that mirage will burn away. And when that happens, the ones who have ruled by division and distraction will have nothing left to stand on. Because a country that knows its own mind cannot be bought, it cannot be fooled, and it sure as hell cannot be stopped. Defiance till death.